We are back. Thank you for all the wonderful messages, all the show of love, all the wonderful prayers, all the well wishes. We love you the same way you love us. About what happened, it's only natural that the body will break down after walking round the clock for nearly more than 3.5 years. Yes, if you've been following us since the presidential election, you will notice that we covered the campaign period, the pre-election season. We also covered the election proper, and most importantly, we covered the presidential election tribunal. The entire team has been working nearly round the clock all this time. So there gets a period when the body will say, no, this is my time. You have to stop now and take care of me. And we are actually going against doctor's advice. He advised a 1-month rest, but we are making it only 2 weeks so that we can get back to preaching what we love to do. Nigeria must get better for everyone. Many Nigerians can't really understand what it means for Nigeria to work for everyone because they haven't simply experienced it. Some that are older understand this better. There was a time in Nigeria when Nigeria used to work for everyone, where artisans like welders, bricklayers, masons, mechanics, you name them, these people were able to build their own homes with the little they earned. Yes, all those 2-bedroom bungalows and 3-bedroom bungalows you see around town were built at this time simply because they were able to save from their daily earnings. This time we are talking about was when the minimum wage was still less than 150 naira per month. Can you imagine that? Monthly shopping for groceries for a small family at that time was still less than 50 naira per month. Can you imagine that? That was a time when renting an apartment, maybe a 2 or 3 bedroom apartment, was still less than 20 naira per month. So you can understand that at that time, artisans were able to enjoy the good life. As a matter of fact, by then, many Nigerians didn't need a visa to travel to any part of the world. The entire countries in the world, Nigerians were simply required to obtain visa on arrival. That's in countries where it wasn't free visa at the time. Today, our people stand in line, beg for visas at foreign embassies simply because they are running away from Nigeria. You have to prove that you will return to Nigeria before being granted a visa. Unlike back in the day when Nigerians are asked, how long are you staying when they land in a foreign airport? And they will simply say 2 weeks, but they are granted 3 months visa. Yes, because they know that Nigerians were wealthy at the time, and wealthy Nigerians know how to spend. They are spendthrifts. You see Nigerians at the time going to Italy, going to London, going to Paris just to spend the weekend. They will fly out on Friday morning and go to high street shopping. In the evening, they will go to club. The next day, they will round up their shopping, and on Sunday, they are back in Nigeria. It used to work for us at that time. So what happened? Many young people haven't experienced this. That's why when you say Nigeria must work for everyone, it seems to fly over their head. They believe that this suffering is a normal way of life, that you have to pray for services that government should provide. These are services that foreigners take for granted in their countries. How do you justify praying to be granted a visa? Foreigners don't pray to be granted visas. Their system makes it possible. It makes it easy for them to get visas wherever they are going because their system works, their country works. Some of them don't even visit the embassies. They just mail their passports to the embassy, including the forms, and the visa is stamped in their passport and mailed back to them. They don't need to visit and start proving that they are not a flight risk, showing their bank statements and everything, showing the houses or property they purchased. All these you are forced to do because your country is not working. How do you justify praying to be able to afford a generator when there should be 24-hour power supply? You are praying to be able to meet a client that will offer you a job that you will do and make profit in order to be able to afford a generator. You don't need to pray for a generator because power supply should be the minimum basic that the government should provide for businesses to thrive. Yes, without power supply, no business can go into production and be profitable. That's the reality. Once you buy fuel and start using generator, that automatically increases your cost of production. This is very simple. Back in the day, not that 24-hour power supply was guaranteed at the time, but power supply was relatively stable. At that time, the power company, NEPA, used to announce that there would be a power cut, and many industries, including homes, will be prepared for it. Why is it not working today? One can't also justify praying against insecurity. You see people about to travel. Before the day of travel, they will first of all embark on a fasting. They will be praying against kidnappers, armed robbers, and all sorts of criminals. That shouldn't be happening if the government is able to tackle security challenges. Back in the early 2000s, before all these kidnappings started happening in Nigeria, no one used to pray for all that. The highest prayer anyone can say was maybe against accidents, to cover the driver and all that. Yes, many Nigerians are religious. Not that prayers are not nice, but you can't really justify praying for things that should be basic, services that the government must provide. In Nigeria, you have to provide these services for yourself. You have to provide your own water, provide your own electricity. Either you go solar or you buy a generator. Upon all these, the government will still tax you on top of that. So these are the issues. Nigerians shouldn't be praying for everything. Rather, they should work to make sure Nigeria works for everyone. If Nigeria works for everyone, everyone will be better for it. As a matter of fact, fighting security challenges doesn't just stop at equipping the security agencies and making sure that they are up and doing, also making sure that they use intelligence to nip the crimes in the bud, but also it requires the government creating an enabling environment for businesses to thrive. And once businesses continue to thrive, they will create employment for the teeming Nigerian youth. Yes, that's the reality. The more people get employed, the more they are focused on their job, especially when they are earning a living, a good living for that matter. They will be focused on that job. They won't have time for crime. Yes, that is how it works in many other countries. Even back in the day in Nigeria, when things used to work better for everyone, it wasn't as if we didn't have criminals at the time. No, we had. No matter how good the economy is, you must always have the bad people. But the difference is, majority of Nigerians at the time were gainfully employed, they had things they were doing, and their wages could take them home at the time. So it is possible it can be replicated in Nigeria again. After all, it has happened before in Nigeria. It's not as if it's alien that it hasn't happened before. No, we have experienced the good life in Nigeria. Unfortunately, some of the people that experienced that good life back in the day find themselves in power today. So you can see it's all intentional. It's not as if they will need to travel abroad to other countries to go and learn how things work there so as to implement it here. No, they experienced it back in the day in Nigeria. Some of them were so fortunate they got free education up to university level. But today they have increased school fees, telling you instead to obtain loans to get yourself educated, thereby putting you in debt. So you can see, unless you stand your ground as a young person and insist that you must enjoy what Nigerians of yesteryears enjoyed back in the years, you can never get a Nigeria that will work for you and your children and the next generation. Yes, these people that enjoyed Nigeria back in the day, today they don't care about anyone. They're only talking about themselves. They increase their salaries at will. They do whatever they want. They increase their security. They don't really care about the Nigerian people. So unless you insist, like already said, things will never get better. Once again, thanks for all the wonderful messages, all the lovely well wishes. We love you.